What's going on, YouTube? So, hope you enjoyed that new intro by CVH, the music at least, not the actual file.
That's by Poetry Force.
Yeah, by Poetry Force. Leave a comment if you would like to see something. I guess we were talking about starting. This was in our update on Wednesday. Was actually doing these narrations, but to talk about the intro real quick while we get set up here, and then we'll go into the actual match. But would you guys like to see a new intro? Like, I guess explain sort of what you sort of had going on.
Well, I had an idea for matches like
CVH
these.
is here, and so is Gorby, by the way.
What up?
Yeah, I had an idea for like matches like these that we're going to narrate over and explain some moves. It might be cool to have an intro that feature like all the players on our channel and stuff. So maybe just like pictures, still shots, or like small videos like Carl was thinking. So if you want to see that, then
small little like 3-second clip, just kind of like I don't know, from your favorite sitcom. You know, they just kind of are animated and then stop and look at the camera.
That part is
make
Carl's
some sort
idea.
of dumb
I hate
face.
Friends.
Well, yeah. Anyways, so that's the idea, is a new intro. So
anyway, on to the match.
Yes, we've got a tri-narration today. Myself, CVH, Gorby, and it's myself versus Jacob Kessler playing CVH's Blurple deck. I'm playing Cobalt, as you saw in the match with Theo on Wednesday, I think is when I put that up.
Mm-hmm.
So
you've seen both the decks by now. It's important to know that Jacob had a lot going against him in this match when he got into it, because this is his first time actually seeing the deck. He looked at it and just started playing it, so he really doesn't know how to run it as well as one would hope.
Yeah.
And
you notice he drops the Gigabolver turn 1 and drops a Sprite turn 2, and then he has Logos turn 3, which is kind of neat, but
honestly, and now there's 2 sprites on the field. Like, if you're not against Rush, there's no reason to ever have a Gigabolver on the field before turn 5 or 6, and there's no reason to have more than 1 sprite on the field along with another blocker. Like, right now, all the cards on the field are redundant except for the Gloom Hollow, so he didn't go into Neuron, so...
And then I have the Screeching to just knock off his 1-drop, which, like CBH was saying, if Jacob gets to turn 6, he's going to want to play the Gigabolver and the Hydro Medusa. But...
that dream is dead.
Yes, so he has to evolve the Medusa on the Gloom Hollow, which is still a bad play, because it's just like, I don't think he even has a hand right now. So he's got a Medusa and 2 sprites, and...
Well, evolving Medusa on a Gloom Hollow would have been okay if he still had the Gigabolver in hand for future Medusing.
Exactly.
Because turn 5 Medusa is pretty good. But, the sprites don't need to be out there right now. So, yeah.
And all I can do here is just, set up completely on him. Like, if he starts swinging at shields with Medusa, which I think he's actually going to do here, it's just, he doesn't have any board presence, really, that I'm worried about. And I've got Cobalt in hand, so I'm just going to evolve into that next turn and
he plays more
start running over his stuff.
He drops the Gigabolver again. It's completely unnecessary. There's nothing on Carl's field that you have any interest in killing with a Gigabolver. It's nice early game if you're, reading the Seneschal or something.
Yeah, the only time you're ever going to attack with it if you're setting up for game, the next turn. I've attacked for game with Gigabolver, but I don't attack early.
But now here comes Cobalt, and Jacob is in trouble.
Yeah, it just resets my shield count, so it's like Medusa pretty much just wasted its time last turn and gave me the +1.
Yeah, I talked about it on a recent article in ARG. It should go up today or tomorrow, but Cobalt is just as good as Halon against a Blurple deck because they usually cap out at 6,000 with Dark Scared Orbital unless they run Tekamora, but most of them don't do that. So, Cobalt accomplishes the same purpose, can attack over anything that's tapped, and gets you the shield back. But yeah, Jacob sort of backed himself into a wall here, because by turn 6, the only viable option he had was to go into shields randomly, and that's a horrible option in itself. So he sort of made himself have to go aggressive because he didn't have a hand, and it's just, as you can see, not paying out too well because Carl has the answers in his hand.
Yeah. Especially against a deck like Carl's that plays so well in the late game. Blurple can translate well as the game drags out a little bit, but...
you have to have the hand to do that with.
Exactly, and Jacob did not leave himself any sort of real options in hand. You saw him get, he ripped into the Logos, which is nice, but...
it's only so nice.
Exactly. He just dropped another 1-drop, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
or he actually played Bone Blades and just got rid of Screeching, which wasn't going to do anything to his field regardless.
Yeah, even against a Rush deck, I would say the number of 1-drops he played would probably be excessive, and it's definitely excessive to play any number of them versus Carl's deck, because they really have no value on the field. The only purpose is to help you evolve more efficiently, and that's something I see a lot of players straying away from Gigabolver because they just don't understand how the card is supposed to be run. It doesn't make the deck more aggressive, it just makes it more efficient on turn 6. If anything, it makes it less aggressive because it's the bait you'll never attack with.
You just have to understand the purposes of cards in there, because going back to what Gorby said about late game for these decks, Blurple is very much a combo-oriented deck. It relies on its evolutions way too heavily, and you have to make those, you dropping a Gigabolver and a Medusa pan out for you. You have to take that +2 off it because you're dropping 2 cards to do something. So, like him just dropping
Yeah,
random
or at
cards
least have
here
complete momentum.
and
But he only had the Medusa to attack with.
Yeah, and just having he's got like 1 or 2 cards in hand at most right now, and it just doesn't allow him to set up anything on field, especially with my growing presence on board. Like, I think turn 7 there I dropped Screeching and a Gloom Hollow to put away another one of his 1-drops. Gloom Hollow would have just sat there and blocked anything, and then I could attack into his Medusa again. So.
Yeah, that's something too. Like with decks that run, because you run the Cobalt and the Halon, which can attack over any tap threat, and you run the Screeching, which can deal with like almost all the evil, like half the Evo bait, I guess. Like it really punishes, like this format, or the metagame right now, really punishes players who just overextend on the small things, especially because Barrage, Tendril, Screeching are just so played, and you don't want to be playing multiple 1-drops like that for no reason.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what put you in an advantage, was just like, of course, you have the answers for those kind of things, so it's very easy to capitalize off of them.
Yeah, because it's very often in matches where I find myself against like CVH, who plays Blurple very well.
Thank you, Carl.
You're welcome. Like, Screeching almost ends up being a dead card, like 70% of the time, just because if he knows I'm running it, he's just not going to play 2-drops. He's going to wait till late game and just grind it out with me there. And generally, it's going to work out better for him because Medusa's just it just kills everything.
It's an absolute powerhouse of a card.
Yeah, and all the 1-drops, even Sprite, you can perform mana, play Cyber Sprite, then into a Neuron, and that's fine. It can attack over a plethora of things. But, this game was very swiftly handled, I think.
Yeah.
So, that's
game right there. Yeah.
Game 1. Yeah. Speaking of Ultra Reality games, this match brought to you in part by Ultra Reality Games. Be sure to check out my articles there, as well as singles, product, etc.
Shameless.
No, I love it.
Yeah. If they don't have singles up for Dojo or for what is this set, Evo period? Yeah.
Where are we?
I don't know, but if they don't have singles up for Evo, because I really haven't checked and I don't plan to really, just make sure to send an email to, I guess, Jim or whoever works there. I guess we get enough people.
Theo face.
Yeah, I think he made a funny joke regarding my sexuality there. Anyway, there you go. It was very humorous. Anyway, just harass. I would like email Jim, because if he gets enough interest, he'll probably put up singles for Evo Fury and stuff. I don't know if he's had the time yet, but
yeah, and it'll give you an option outside of just having to go to eBay.
Yeah, I mean your locals are cool, and I definitely tell you to support your locals, but for singles, it's nice to have a place to buy them.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
and I'm a little biased toward Ultra Reality myself.
Of course.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, it's worth it. Like, got good deals. So
we'll see if Jacob learned from any of his mistakes.
Looks like you opened up with quite a good hand, Carl. I see you got the Cloudwalker Blinder Beetle.
Yeah.
That's one of the most dominant plays that this deck can make right now.
I think for these narration matches, it would be good to always have a player whose hand you can see. Because we can't really hand cam both players, but like an angle like this could work. YouTube, tell us what you think.
So you see Jacob slowing down a little bit. There's no 1-drops here. Maybe because he didn't draw any, we don't know.
I think we were
Medusa
coaching him
down
at that point.
Medusa has been down in mana. I don't think that's it's almost never a correct play to put Medusa in mana. Unless he has like 3 of them in hand.
Exactly.
And here's where you see the blinder Cloudwalker. It just works out.
There's no real way around that on turn 3 for Blurple. You kind of have to play the Giga Stand and just hope they don't have the blinder follow up. But it's just a problem. Or it's Giga Stand, Seneschal, what have you.
And it just punishes, like, because Seneschal is such a prominent turn 3 thing, and giving Cloudwalker that 1500, I think they did that just to make it, like, possible to actually kill that kind of stuff.
If you can, on turn 3 with Blurple, if you see if they played Cloudwalker turn 2, and you think they might have the blinder beetle follow up, the proper play, if you have it, is Gloom Hollow, because it bypasses all that, and you can just wait until you can Medusa on turn 5. But, it definitely depends on what you have.
Jacob has the Medusa here.
Yeah, and he breaks a shield, which I don't think was right. It's just giving me more advantage at this point.
He doesn't. It looks like he has 1 card in hand there.
Yeah, there's a proper time to break 1 shield, and I guess it worked out for that specific turn.
Well, I don't even think it worked out for that specific turn, because if he gives me Cobalt, then because that's what I'm digging for at this point, is trying to set up for Cobalt.
Yeah, I'm sure
and if I do have the Cobalt turn 6, it's just like it basically wastes a turn with his Medusa, and I'm just gonna revenge it if he breaks more.
I'm sure he's hoping to have an answer for the blinder beetle. I don't know if he has one. Excuse me. Will be interesting to see if a play is made.
He summons Seneschal.
There's a Seneschal, and he continues to break shields. And I think this is where it just comes down to Jacob's knowledge of the game versus mine. Like,
again, I feel like he sort of backed himself into another corner in this game too, because you have 1 card in hand, you have 2 creatures on field. There's really only one thing to do.
Exactly. there's a certain amount of conservativeness that needs to go into playing Blurple in certain matchups. It is a very dominant deck right now. I definitely think it's one of the, if not the best decks of the format. But you have to know how to play with it. It's not something that you can just kind of plop cards on board and expect the deck to win, like some players try to make it out to be.
Like, when I go aggressive, even if I'm only breaking one shield with Medusa against their hand, the important thing is that I have a few cards in hand to deal with whatever they can play. But, Jacob just has to go in because there's nothing else. There's no other option.
Exactly. It comes down to, like, the combo-oriented pieces. Like I said, Blurple, very combo-oriented. You have to have multiple cards in hand to make things work. You have to have the Cyberlord with the Neuron. You have to have the Chimera with the Medusa to start getting your +2s, your +1s, and actually make it work.
And now we sort of see where he's coming from, because he might have been holding the Skull Shatter that whole time and giving you extra cards. But
he didn't. I don't think he had.
That wasn't Skull Shatter.
No, he did have Skull Shatter. He had Skull Shatter, but he was at 6 mana, so I didn't fear it, and that was my knowledge. Like, if he wants to set up for Skull Shatter, he'd have to waste his turn playing mana the next turn.
It's all strategy,
and by
I
that
guess.
point, I'd have enough field presence to just the Skull Shatter wouldn't affect me.
Because he backed himself into the hope I break some shields, give him hand presence, and he doesn't have field he can play, or at least an excessive field, so I can just Skull Shatter and win from there. But it didn't turn out that way, because he just didn't have enough mana when he had to start breaking. And then by that time, you had a field, and it's just irrelevant if he Skull Shatters right now, he'd just lose. Because it would waste his whole turn, and then he'd just not have any way to deal with the field.
And at that point, I summoned the Kinder, hit a Screeching, which did nothing last turn. He just played it to play it to have something on board.
Yeah, he killed your Chasm.
Yeah, I heard.
He did kill Chasm.
Koji4 said
good call.
Koji4 said that Razor Kinder has actually been seeing no play since Rise, which is false. I think one Razor Kinder in certain control builds is valid.
I like it in one, just because it accomplishes what Tetzer and the Unchained does for fire when you're not running fire and you're running darkness.
Obviously, Medusa's the better card in Blurple and stuff like that.
Of course.
But look at the 1-drops are back.
Yeah.
So.
But you see now, if Carl has a way to deal with this breaker, or the blocker, in Cyber Sprite, he has game on the board potentially.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't, he's in such a great position.
Exactly. He has nothing to fear because those Balvers are going to die.
Yeah, one of them's already
I go ahead and Bone Blades one and go for the double break because I know he has to block it. So it was just a safe play. Really, I didn't even have to play safe. I had 3 shields. There wasn't a lot he was going to be able to do.
You have 3? I thought you had 2.
Well, there's one on the end under the Seneschal. It blends in with the mat.
Yeah, there's nothing you can...
And there's Ice Blades out of the last 2 shields.
There's
the Seneschal.
Yes, I do take 1 random Ice Blades. For those of you playing in the Sky tournament, that's my exact build, so...
Pay attention.
Yeah. I promise not to play it like this. I'll give you a match that's...
So, yeah. At this point, even if he had the Medusa, it wouldn't have done him any good. And
he's got the Neuron.
Yeah,
and he can kill one thing.
He can kill the 2 Kinders.
He's gonna kill 2 things. And because we watched this back, we know to look out for.
He sets a fake shield.
Sets a fake shield, and then,
it was a joke. It would make more sense with the actual audio.
So yeah, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this narration. The match ends here. I attack with Cobalt, and it's over. So leave a like if you enjoyed this kind of stuff, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Peach.